All right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive on how to prepare for a mineral crushing operator interview.
Sounds good.
We've got a whole bunch of resources from RoleCatcher.
Right.
I've got their career guides, we've got interview guides, and we've even got details about how their AI can actually help tailor your application for these jobs.
Yeah, their AI is really something else. It's super helpful.
So we're going to break down exactly what this job is all about, what employers are looking for, and then, of course, give you a sneak peek at some common interview questions so you can walk into that interview feeling confident and prepared.
Those interview questions can definitely be nerve-wracking, so the more prepared you are, the better.
Absolutely. But first, let's sort of set the stage. Like, what does a mineral crushing operator even do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it's a pretty hands-on role.
Yeah.
They're operating and monitoring those massive crushers that break down all the rocks and minerals.
Right.
So you're basically feeding the machines, making sure that everything's running smoothly, and that the final product meets all the quality standards. Safety is a huge part of the job, obviously, and you're also going to be working in a pretty industrial environment.
Right.
Most likely indoors, but you're going to be dealing with noise, dust, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So definitely not your typical office job.
Exactly.
Now, RoleCatcher's career guide actually highlights some key industry trends that we should probably talk about.
Yeah, the mining industry is changing fast.
Okay.
There's a lot more automation and digitization happening, which means you're going to see more sophisticated machinery
Right.
and a growing demand for skilled operators who can actually handle all that fancy new tech.
So it sounds like job security is pretty good for this kind of role then.
Yeah, I mean, if you can keep up with the latest technology, you're golden.
Awesome. All right. So how does RoleCatcher's AI actually help someone stand out in this kind of competitive landscape?
Well, what's cool is that their platform is designed to analyze specific job descriptions and then tailor your application accordingly.
So it's not just generic advice then.
Not at all. It's
Yeah.
very specific. Like, they have this really cool CV resume builder that scores your resume against the requirements of the job.
Wow.
And it points out, any skill gaps or anything that you could improve to increase your chances of getting noticed.
So it's almost like having a personal recruiter
Yeah.
kind of looking over your shoulder before you even submit it.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get down to the real reason that we're here,
Right. The nitty-gritty.
which is the interview questions.
Yes.
So RoleCatcher has actually provided us with some common questions that are asked in mineral crushing operator interviews.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to take a look at a few of them,
Let's do it.
kind of dissect them.
Right.
So let's start with a really common one that I'm sure we've all heard before.
Okay.
Can you explain your experience with crushing equipment?
Ah, the classic.
Right. But it's not as straightforward as it might sound at first.
No, it's not just listing off every machine you've ever touched.
Right. The interviewer is digging a little deeper than that.
They want to see if you can actually articulate your experience and highlight those transferable skills.
Yeah, so even if you haven't worked specifically as a mineral crushing operator, you could still have relevant experience, right?
Absolutely.
So think about any experience you have with heavy machinery, maybe industrial processes, or even just problem solving in a really fast-paced environment.
Yeah, like if you can think of a time where you had to think on your feet and troubleshoot a problem, that's gold.
Yeah, totally.
Ugh.
For example, let's say you worked in construction and you were operating a forklift.
Okay.
You got talk about, the precision that takes your attention to safety, or even just, how you adapted to different loads and terrain.
Yeah, those skills are definitely transferable to this kind of job.
Totally. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can come in handy again,
Right.
because it can actually help you connect those dots.
Yeah, it analyzes your experience and then compares it to the job description to suggest, the best way to frame those skills for the employer.
That's awesome. All right, let's move on to another question that pops up a lot in these interviews.
Sure.
Can you describe your knowledge of safety procedures when operating crushing equipment?
Okay, yeah, that's a big one.
Big one. And it's all about safety, obviously showing that you are committed to safety.
Absolutely, both for yourself and for the people around you.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
this is where you really want to shine in terms of your knowledge of PPE, lockout, hagout procedures, pre-operational checks, all those critical safety protocols.
Yeah, you want to show that you know your stuff.
But don't just give them a list, right?
No, you have to explain why these procedures are important, how you've actually implemented them in the past.
Right. Give them some examples.
Exactly. Maybe even a short story that illustrates your commitment to safety.
Like a time when you spotted a potential hazard and then took steps to correct it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Or maybe you coached a colleague on proper safety techniques.
Right.
Those are the kind of stories that really bring your answers to life and show the interviewer that you're not just saying the right things, but that you actually live it.
It's all about showing, not telling.
Exactly. And speaking of RoleCatcher, they actually have this really cool feature
Oh, yeah.
that lets you record yourself practicing these answers.
Really?
Yeah. And their AI analyzes your video.
Wow.
And then it gives you personalized feedback on your
Yeah.
delivery and content.
So it's like having a mock interview, but with an AI coach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. All right, let's move on to another question.
Okay.
This one focuses a little bit more on organization. How do you prioritize work orders and production schedules?
Okay. So they want to know how you handle juggling multiple tasks when things get hectic.
Exactly. So think about the different factors that you would consider in that situation.
Right.
You've got production goals,
Uh-huh.
you've got equipment availability,
Right.
maintenance needs deadlines from customers, all that stuff.
So it's a lot to balance.
Totally. Can you give me an example of a time when you had to manage those competing priorities?
Let me think.
And how did you make sure everything went smoothly?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And you know what I like about the way you're asking me these questions is that it really makes me think about the answer in a more complete way.
Yeah, that's the point. The more you practice actually articulating your thought process,
Right.
the more natural and confident you're going to sound in the actual interview.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Can you explain your experience with preventative maintenance programs for crushing equipment?
Okay, so this one's all about keeping those machines in tip-top shape, right?
Right. And I imagine it's really important to minimize downtime in this kind of industry.
Oh, yeah. Downtime means lost production, and nobody wants that.
So share any training that you've had in preventative maintenance.
Uh-huh.
Maybe talk about your experience actually implementing these programs and how they've had a positive impact.
Right.
Did you ever catch a potential issue early because of a routine check?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or maybe you streamlined a maintenance process somehow.
Right.
Those are the kind of details that really show the interviewer that you understand the bigger picture.
And that you're valuable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's tackle one more question in this section, and then we'll take a little break.
That's good.
Okay, this one's about problem solving. How do you troubleshoot and resolve equipment malfunctions?
All right, so they're testing your technical skills and your ability to think on your feet.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
start by outlining, your approach to troubleshooting in a systematic way.
Right.
Do you have a mental checklist that you go through?
Yeah, like a step-by-step process.
What kind of diagnostic tools are you comfortable using?
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, give them a real-life example of a time you successfully diagnosed and fixed a problem.
A good story always helps.
Yeah, walk them through the steps you took, the challenges you faced, and how you ultimately resolved that issue.
Right.
I mean, real-life examples are so powerful in interviews because they prove that you can walk the walk.
Absolutely. It's not just talk.
And RoleCatcher's AI could actually help analyze those stories and maybe suggest ways to make them even more impactful, right?
Yeah, definitely. Their AI can pick out the key skills and qualities that you're demonstrating and make sure that you're highlighting them in the best possible way for the interviewer.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, I think now's a good time to step back a bit and take a closer look at RoleCatcher's Career Guide,
Okay, sounds good.
because it's got a ton of insights about the career path for mineral crushing operators beyond just the interview.
Right. It's like the big picture stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key takeaways from the guide? Like, what does it say about the pros and cons of this job?
Well, RoleCatcher's pretty upfront about the challenges. They say it's a job with good earning potential and strong job security, but
Yeah.
it is physically demanding,
Yeah.
and often you're working in tough environments.
Yeah.
And, there are some inherent risks
Right.
working with heavy machinery like that.
Of course.
So you definitely need to be physically and mentally tough to thrive in this kind of job.
Yeah, it sounds like you got to be able to handle the pressure.
Exactly. But for the right person, it can be a really rewarding career.
Absolutely. Especially if you enjoy, that hands-on kind of work.
Yeah.
And it's not a dead-end job either, right?
No, not at all.
Like, what does RoleCatcher say about potential career progression?
Well, they highlight that.
Oh.
With experience and the right skills, you could move into supervisory roles
Oh,
or even explore some related fields like maintenance or quality control.
so you can kind of branch out a bit.
Yeah, there are definitely options for growth.
That's good to know. What else does RoleCatcher's Career Guide emphasize?
One thing they really stress is continuous learning and networking.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the industry is always evolving.
Right.
So staying up to date on all the new technologies, safety protocols, best practices, it's all really important if you want to stay ahead of the game.
So basically attending industry events, connecting with other professionals, keeping up with all the latest publications. Yeah, all that good stuff.
It really shows employers that you're serious about your career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows that you're invested in your own development.
All right, are you ready for some more interview questions?
Bring it on. I think we're on a roll.
All right, let's do it. This one often makes people nervous.
Okay.
What are your salary expectations?
Ah, the dreaded salary question.
Right, it's kind of a delicate balance. You don't want to aim too low,
Yeah, you don't want to undersell yourself.
but you also don't want to price yourself out of the job.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a tough one.
So how do you find that sweet spot?
Research.
There? Okay.
Before you even go into the interview, take some time to look up typical salary ranges for mineral crushing operators in your area.
So websites like RoleCatcher Glassdoor.
Indeed.
Those are all good resources.
Oh,
You
yeah.
need to know what the market rate is.
So go in armed with data.
Exactly. Then you can confidently say something like, based on my experience in the current market rate, I'm seeking a salary between X and Y.
So give them a range.
Yeah, it gives you some wiggle room.
Okay, that makes sense. What about behavioral questions? I always find those a bit tricky.
Oh, yeah, those are super common.
Like, for example,
Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult situation at work.
yeah, that one.
They want to see how you handle pressure, how resilient you are,
Right.
your communication skills, all that good stuff.
So don't be afraid to share a real-life example,
Yeah, everyone's had to deal with something tough at some point.
right? Pick a situation that highlights your strengths and how you handled it effectively.
And be specific.
Okay.
Talk about the context, what the challenges were, what actions you took, and what the outcome was.
And what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, did it make you a better communicator?
Right. Did you become more adaptable?
It's all about showcasing those soft skills.
Right, because those are just as important as the technical skills.
Absolutely. And it's a good opportunity to connect those experiences back to the role you're interviewing for.
Yeah, like how those skills would be valuable in a crushing operation. Okay, what about questions related to why you want this particular job?
Oh, yeah, another classic. Why are you interested in position?
It seems so simple, but it's actually kind of hard to answer well.
Yeah, you got to go beyond just repeating the job description.
Right, you have to show genuine enthusiasm for the role.
And for the company.
Yeah. So what specifically excites you about this opportunity?
Is it the technology, the company's reputation, the growth potential?
Right. And if you've done your research on the company, mention that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like something you admire about their work or their values.
It shows you're actually interested in joining their team
Right. It's all about making that personal connection.
and standing out from the crowd.
Right. How about this one? This is a double whammy. What are your greatest strengths and weaknesses?
Okay, the classic strengths and weaknesses question.
When you're talking about your strengths, make sure they're relevant to the job.
Right.
And give specific examples. Don't just say you're a hard worker.
Yeah, show them how your work ethic actually helped you achieve something.
And when it comes to weaknesses,
Honesty is key,
okay.
but frame it in a positive way.
Like how?
Share something you're actively working on improving.
Okay.
Like, I sometimes struggle with public speaking, but I've joined Toastmasters to get better.
So you're showing that you're self-aware.
Yeah, and that you're always trying to grow.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's think long term.
All right.
They might ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, yeah, the 5-year plan question.
I just get a little nervous when they ask that one.
Well, no one expects you to have a crystal ball,
Right?
but they do want to see your ambition
Okay.
and how this role fits into your long-term goals.
So do you see yourself taking on more responsibility, maybe expanding your skill set, or even moving into a leadership role?
Exactly. Think about where you want to be and be realistic.
All right, it's a chance to show that you're thinking about your future and how this position can help you get there.
And speaking of showcasing your potential, remember RoleCatcher's AI-powered video practice tool.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's a great way to practice your answers and get feedback on your delivery.
So their AI analyzes your video and gives you tips on your body language, tone of voice, and just your overall presentation
It's like having a virtual interview coach.
right in your pocket.
Exactly. Practice makes perfect.
And with RoleCatcher's AI, you can practice smarter.
Absolutely.
All right. What other interview curveballs should we prepare for?
Let's see. Well, almost every job involves teamwork these days, so it's pretty likely you'll get asked about it.
Right, like tell me about a time you had to work as part of a team to achieve a common goal, something like that.
Exactly. And they really want to see if you can, collaborate, communicate, contribute effectively as part of a group.
Okay, so how should you approach this question when it comes up?
Well, think back to a project or a situation where teamwork was really essential.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be, a huge, massive project.
Right.
Even a small example can be really effective. If you focus on your specific role within the team, what were the challenges you faced together? What actions did you take, and what was the outcome?
So don't just describe what happened, but really showcase those teamwork skills.
Yeah,
Were
exactly.
you the one keeping everyone on track? Were you the problem solver or the motivator?
Yeah,
You know?
right. Pick an example that shows the qualities that would make you a valuable team member in a crushing operation.
Okay, so for example.
Like, maybe you had to work with a team to troubleshoot a mechanical issue on a really tight deadline.
Right.
That shows you can communicate under pressure, problem solve, and work towards a common goal.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about, answering the interviewer's questions, but what about when they flip it around and ask if you have any questions for them?
Oh, yeah, that's important too.
Right? Like, do you have any questions for us?
Always be prepared for that one.
It's so easy to just say, nope, I think you covered everything.
Yeah, but that's a missed opportunity.
It is.
You should always have a few questions ready to go.
Yeah.
And jot down new ones as you think of them during the conversation.
So what kind of questions?
You could ask about the company culture, their plans for growth,
Uh-huh.
their training programs, or even just the day-to-day responsibilities of the role.
Right. And I've heard it's a good idea to ask the interviewer about their own experience at the company.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like, what's been your favorite part about working here? It shows you're interested in their perspective.
Right, and it makes the interview feel more like a conversation.
So it's not just you being grilled.
Exactly. Remember, the interview is a two-way street.
It is.
It's a chance for you to decide if the company's a good fit for you, too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We've looked at what a mineral crushing operator does, the skills employers are looking for. And we've gone through a bunch of those common interview questions.
Yeah, I think we hit all the major points.
And of course, I want to emphasize again just how helpful RoleCatcher's resources are.
They're amazing.
They go way beyond just interview prep.
Right, it's like having your own career coach in your pocket.
Exactly. So to everyone out there getting ready for their mineral crushing operator interview, remember that knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Embrace the challenge, show them what you know, and let your personality shine through.
And don't forget to practice your answers.
Yes, practice makes perfect.
With the right preparation and a positive attitude, you can definitely crush that interview.
And launch a rewarding career in the mining industry.
Best of luck out there.